Hello everybody. Today the adventure continues with the beauty of prime and portrait lenses. I've been away from YouTube for a little while, so I'd like to thank you all for staying with me all this time, because I plan on putting on a lot of good information regarding photography and maybe some other subjects as well. So I hope you continue to stay with me. And everything that I'm about to tell you is based on my opinion. And you know what they say about opinions. Everybody has one. But this is based on my opinion through my many years of experience in the wedding, mostly wedding and portrait photography business. So we'll start with the prime lens, the 50 millimeter. Some of the major benefits of using prime lenses are sharpness and image quality. Plus, they typically feature a wider aperture or larger f-stop or larger lens opening, allowing more light into the camera. And this is not only useful in low light photography, but also helps you isolate the subject even more by knocking the background out of focus, even more than, say, a zoom lens might. And from what I understand, a 50 millimeter lens is generally considered to be the closest to what the human eye sees in a full-frame 35 millimeter sensor camera body. And this is because it's going to closely match the field of view and perspective that the human eye sees. Now, if you mount a 50 millimeter lens on a crop sensor body such as Nikon's APS-C camera body, you'll get the same field of view as a 75 millimeter lens on the full frame camera. And that is because of the crop factor. So you take your 50 millimeter times the crop factor of 1.5 equals 75 millimeter. And there you have it. Who said that math was hard? So I went back into my archives and I pulled some images that were taken with just the 50 millimeter lens. And the interesting thing is that they were taken by my second shooters at a wedding. Well, at different weddings actually. And I always like when my second shooters use prime lenses. So once they get the experience, I like to have them just walk around and do what they want to do. And also, as I'm capturing the certain like family portraits, the wedding party, bride and groom, they can photograph some of that, but perhaps a different angle. And I also like to have them capture things behind the scenes that I cannot get because I'm too busy rounding up and doing all the portrait type posing. So that's so I really like when they get to the point that they know what they're doing and they know what to look for. And I think it's pretty amazing. And the 50 millimeter lens is a good starting point for someone who's on a tight budget because they're relatively inexpensive, especially if you go with the 1.8, which is very good. If you have a little bit more money, you can get the 1.4. Or I think some camera manufacturers make a 1.2 now. And from what I understand, there's even, I'm not sure who makes it anymore, but it has, I believe it's less than 1. So it's they're very fast lenses. But if you're, well, like in my case, I'm a Nikon shooter, so they have a great 1.8 lens, but the 1.4 is really good. Now, some of these images, they were taken by, some of my second shooters have Canons, Nikon. One of my second shooter has a really beautiful Fuji system, and they're all really good. So I'm not really partial to any certain type of manufacturer, but I do have Nikon, so only because when I started, I purchased all the different accessories and the lenses for it, but they're all good today. So the equipment is really all not that important as what you do with it. And of course, your lenses are probably maybe a little bit more important than your camera body. So let's take a look at some of these images, and they're brought to you by the smoothie. This is a smoothie that my wife made, and it has 3 ingredients that I really like, besides being the store-bought smoothie with all the different fruits and things in there. We also use Markus Rothkrantz products. I'll put a link below, but I think it's markusproducts.com. And this guy's a genius. He really knows food and nutrition, knows a lot about photography as well. But anyway, in this smoothie, there is the green formula, which he claims that you can live off of. The ingredients in there, I mean, there's so many good things in there. He also has the best natural vitamin C that you can get, and he also has a plant-based protein. So this is a 3-in-1 product that you can put in your smoothie. Fantastic. Let's take a look at those images. So here we're looking at the bride as she's getting ready. And this is a combination of natural light with some fill flash. And with the 50 millimeter, of course, we're set to f1.4. So we have the lens wide open here, and we have selective focus on the bride, which means anything outside the focus range is going to be blurry and out of focus, and it's going to bring our attention more to the bride. And the neat thing about when you're using a fast lens, like here we're set to f1.4, we get a greater opportunity of using a faster shutter speed, and here we're at 1/250th of a second. ISO here, in case you're wondering, is 500. And here we have the musicians on the balcony right before the ceremony starts. And our focus is on the front musician with the 2 in back, slightly out of focus. f1.8 is the lens opening here. Now, as I mentioned, if I'm doing a series of portraits of the bride and groom or the wedding party or family or whoever, I'll have my second shooters perhaps capture a different scene or a different angle of some of the things that I'm photographing. And here's an example. This I just made into a black and white. Also 1.4 with the 50. And same thing here. The f-stop is 1.4. ISO in these is 400. And the cake cutting is always interesting because a lot of neat stuff happens then, if you like excitement. Here we're at f1.4. So we have the lens fully open, and we have a combination of natural light here mixed with bounce flash for a fill. So when you have the cake cutting, of course, you want to be ready and you want to capture several different shots pretty quickly, so be ready. Again, f1.4, 2/50th of a second. ISO here is 1600. So the amazing thing today is that we can shoot some really high ISOs and yet still get some beautiful images out of it. And here's another couple. And he's really trying to let her have it here. And then, of course, afterwards he tries to apologize. And again, the 50 millimeter f1.4. 2/50th of a second, and the f1.4 knocks the background slightly out of focus, but you can still see him as though he's apologizing, saying, "Honey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I'll never do it again." But it didn't matter. She got him back. 1.4 at 2/50th of a second. And here he was set to f2.8. So even at f2.8, we can get some nice background blur out of it. And same thing here, f1.4. And as one of the groomsmen helps the ring bearer get dressed, we're at 1.4 again, 2/50th of a second. And this particular one here was taken at the bride's house right before the wedding. We had some beautiful window light, so I put her close to a corner wall, plain wall, where the light was really nice. We had strong light coming in from one side and a weak fill coming in from the other side of the window. f1.4 again, 50 millimeter of course, because of all the light we had, 1,000th of a second. And here we're set to f1.8, showing selective focus. The focus is on the first group of flowers, and then you can see the following group way out of focus, but it sets the stage for selective focus, bringing your attention to that first group of flowers. And here's a natural light shot at the reception of just a cake. Many times they may set up the cake in a really nice lit area. Of course, sometimes not, but in this case they had a nice backlight, and I always like backlighting. And here he was set to 1.8 at 1/200th of a second. No flash. This is all natural light. And you can see the focus on the cake. We have a nice background blur, so we're isolating the subject here, which is the cake. So this gives you some idea of the neat things that you can capture using just that one lens, the 50 millimeter, and get some really nice effects shooting it wide open. It gets a nice blurry background, and this lens even has a nice bokeh also. And a very, very practical lens for people on a budget. So check this lens out. It'll be good to have. And there's also other prime lenses which give you beautiful photographs that we're going to take a look at next.